Hi, my name is Eng Tang with Tozy Capital. I'm the CEO of Tozy Capital, but I'm also the investor and an investor in all our investments. And I'm very excited to present this Bitcoin mining fund where I'm a major investor myself and excited to share in this investment with you. This is our third investment in Bitcoin mining. And I personally have been investing in Bitcoin for a long time. I wish I had more of it. I wish I kept more of it. But I'm excited to present our third Bitcoin mining fund. And it would be good to start with telling you how our first funds are doing. In fact, our first fund is doing very well. We have invested in significant miners at scale, and this is no different. In fact, this is doubling of our capacity compared to our fund 1 and 2. And our first fund has already delivered 10% monthly returns for 2 months straight. So 20% returns to our investors. I'm excited to present you guys an opportunity to invest in something that I believe will provide very similar results in the foreseeable future. So I want to highlight the investment, but also want to get into why Bitcoin now, and Bitcoin mining. Not going to go to the technical details of it. Happy to talk about it as well. We have some videos on it, and we have a very robust FAQ, and that we will be sharing with you, or you have already shared with you. I'll also talk about the investment offering, our mining infrastructure, and the project timeline. And the mining infrastructure is very important because it highlights the work we've done, the partnerships we've developed, and the investments we've committed to ensure this be one of our most productive investments. So what I think about this investment is, if you are even considering investing in Bitcoin, I believe this is a much better way to invest in Bitcoin. And so really, if you're watching this, you really got to consider, do I think the future of Bitcoin is good? I think if you don't even think that future Bitcoin is good, this could still be a really strong investment. And I think there's significant discounts on this investment, as well as a really strong downside protection. Tozy Capital will be investing in Bitcoin mining operations at scale. And we always provide scale opportunities for our investors, and because scale and capital, in this case, provides a lot of economic incentive to create really strong outsized returns for our investors. So in this iteration of a fund, we will be investing and partnering with Elite Mining to create, to host our miners in immersion cooling technology. This will allow us to be more productive, have longer longevity, and to even reduce our overall power costs. We've secured 100 Bitmain S19j Pro 100 terahash ASIC miners. These are computers that are specially purposed to mine Bitcoin. This actually is more than a doubling of our first two funds, and more than our first two funds combined. So why Bitcoin? Why Bitcoin now is really the operative question. I believe that as somebody who's been in the market of Bitcoin for a long time, there has been cycles. I believe this cycle is different. Wider institutional adoption, with MicroStrategy leading the way, Tesla earlier this year, and other companies investing in Bitcoin, I believe that institutional capital is flowing to this space. When I say institutional capital, I mean every CFO right now is considering if they should add Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And we've seen companies as traditional, as regulated, as MassMutual, an insurance company, invest in $100 million of Bitcoin. And I believe that forebodes a very strong pattern of wider institutional and capital adoption. In fact, we in the next few months, you'll see ETFs opening up and more retail investors being able to come in and invest in Bitcoin. There'll also be more consumer use in the future as PayPal and Venmo are incorporating Bitcoin and the Lightning networks to allow consumers to leverage Bitcoin. Sovereign countries are actually starting to adopt Bitcoin as well. You have Ukraine, El Salvador, and other South American countries. And this will be a continued trend in 2021 and 2022. overall, the economy and the pandemic has necessitated a lot of central reserves to print a lot of money. Bitcoin and its known and fixed scarcity is a great hedge against that inflation of the dollar. The dollar is being inflated. There'll be more dollars printed out in the last 2 years than has ever been. And this is a distribution from savers to investors. Every asset is inflating because your dollar denomination is just going lower. You can see this by the fact that housing prices are going up. Most goods are going up in price. And this is a trend for the past, as long as you can remember, for several decades, as long as we got off the gold standard. Now, Bitcoin is, as some people think of it, digital gold. It's a known and fixed scarcity. It's codified in code that would be only 21 million Bitcoin in the world. There's 19 million Bitcoin mined today, and there'll be 2 more million left to go. It'll take 120 years to mine the rest of the Bitcoin. And I believe this known and fixed scarcity allows investors to perceive this as a very strong store of value. If you know that no central authority can print more Bitcoin, can create more Bitcoin, can change who owns it, who controls it, I believe this decentralization is the core of why Bitcoin has a strong store of value properties. So with all that in mind, I'm projecting, and lots of analysts projecting, massive potential growth. Kathy Woods from ARK Investments is projecting a price target of $500,000 in 5 years for Bitcoin mining. So for Bitcoin. And I think that's fairly in line with a lot of analysts. And so our conservative estimations have it much lower on our projections. Of course, we do believe that if this is going much higher, like most analysts expect, these conservative estimations are going to be blown out of the water. So hopefully you're convinced Bitcoin is a great thing to have. You should have some. So why should you invest in Bitcoin mining? Well, if I was going to invest in Bitcoin, which I do, I would invest in Bitcoin mining, which I do. Buying Bitcoin spending the money to buy one Bitcoin, you can invest the same amount of money and get 1.5 Bitcoin with Tozi Capital. This is a discounted investment. I would love to have investments where I get a discount on my investment, and to have great downside protection, tax advantages. It is icing on top. So buying Bitcoin is an inefficient use of getting Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, much more efficient, and as passive as buying Bitcoin. Now, this will be provided over a longer period of time, but we'll have even more Bitcoin potential as prices go up or prices go down. So how do we achieve this great benefit? Well, if you think about Bitcoin mining, there are really two ways that the economies of scale work. One, you want to have cheap miners, or if you think about these miners, they're really computers, the computer servers that run 24/7 on very high energy costs to mine Bitcoin, to solve mathematical problems, to unlock the blockchain, and to validate nodes and transactions. You don't have to worry about what any of that means. Hopefully you can learn it. But you don't have to know what it is. It's a very predictable mathematical equation on how much computers you have, how much power they produce in terms of terahash, and how much Bitcoin you receive. The more computers you have, the more productive the computers, the more Bitcoin you mine. So if you can procure the computers, the ASIC miners, the Bitcoin miners at a lower cost, you can get it. You can have more productive miners. And so that's what we've done. We've already acquired 1,000 Bitmain miners directly from Bitmain at 30% cost reduction. And in fact, if you're trying to buy them now on spot, they would be very much sold out almost everywhere. But through a reseller, you could buy them potentially for 30% premium. So you're already getting a discount, a 30% discount on your investment by investing with Tozi Capital. We also have very low power costs. We have 4-cent power costs, which most consumers are actually having power costs of around 11 to 12 cents. So this allows us to keep our costs very low and our hardware costs very low, which means a very efficient Bitcoin production. In fact, This 4-cent power cost compares to close to 6 cent for our first fund. And our first fund is operating at a 85% profit margin. So we're running at 15% OPEX costs, mostly power. And this fund, third fund, will have even better efficiencies and better productivity. Of course, the benefit of the first fund is that it's already providing investors money, but we soon hope that this will provide you significant cash flow and Bitcoin as well. So I'm a real estate investor. I invest in a lot of real estate. I love cash flow investing, and I love tax advantage investing. These are things that I look for when I invest in real estate. I think that Bitcoin mining is very comparable. Even if you don't care about Bitcoin, all the properties, all the wealth creation, all the growth opportunity, you can think of this as a cash flow investment. What we do is essentially take the 1,000 miners, we plug into a pool. This pool is aggregating a ton of miners, a ton of mining companies, way more than we have, and is creating a very predictable return on Bitcoin based on how much miners you have. Now, every month, we will essentially take that Bitcoin, sell a portion of that to pay for our expenses, mostly power costs, and then send the rest to you, the investor. And you have two choices. You can take it in Bitcoin or dollars. If you take in Bitcoin, we can help you set up a wallet or set up a wallet of your choice. Trust Wallet is a very reputable one. You can also have a Coinbase account, Kraken account, or a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Ledger. And these are all options you can look on YouTube or Google, but we're also here to help you as well. But once you have the wallet and an address, just let us know what that is, and we'll send you a test deposit. And once you confirm, we'll be sending you Bitcoin every month. And I love monthly distributions because I don't want to hold any more Bitcoin than I need to. I want to send you all your returns, all your income. Now, for those who don't care about Bitcoin or don't want Bitcoin, and we do have investors in our first fund that have chosen to take their investment distributions in cash, what we do is essentially, instead of sending it to your wallet, we send it to a liquidation wallet where we then liquidate it into USD or dollars and then send it to you via our normal procedure of ACH. So that does take a little bit longer. It's a little bit costlier from our perspective, but I'm happy to accommodate and provide you distributions in the manner that you want. And so another benefit of real estate investing is the depreciation. You can use depreciation to write off cash flow. And while this investment has significantly higher cash flow, it does still also has significantly high depreciation. 90% of your investment basis. So if you took $100,000 invested into this fund, 90% of your investment would go towards the miners itself. We would then depreciate the miners and give you a 90% or $90,000 in that scenario, K1 loss. This would be provided every year around March. And this would be for a one-time bonus in the first year. And so this is a really great way to get a big tax write-off that you can use against other K1 passive income gains and apply this very significant one-time benefit. And of course, if you take this benefit or you don't take this benefit, you can carry that forward for the foreseeable future and use it to offset all the income that you'll be receiving for at least the return of capital portion of your investment. So great cash flow, monthly cash flow, projecting 7 to 10% monthly returns and strong tax benefits. What more could you want? This is why I invest in real estate. This is why I invest in Bitcoin mining. And I really believe this is the future of how investors will even consider buying Bitcoin. Although the scale benefits that Tozi Capital provides is a significant discount on your investment. A few other tax things real quick is if you're a self-directed IRA or a solo 401k, you can also invest in this fund. We do avoid UBIT taxes because we use blocker entities, and we allow, and we've checked this all with our CPAs and legal team. And so we avoid self-employment tax and other taxes normally associated with Bitcoin mining. So a very tax advantage, investment-friendly structure for investors. That's very strong passive income. So how much income would you project to receive? I'm a very conservative person. If Bitcoin stays at 50,000 for 5 years, which is not been the historical norm, you could project to see a 22% IRR, much higher than most real estate investments, and a 40% return on investment, 1.4x return on investment. Now, our projections, of course, is better, more than that. And so these other return metrics highlight sort of the massive potential of investing in Bitcoin. And we do provide a model that highlights these return potentials. And one thing in that model is if you take your investment in Bitcoin, you will have a potentially higher return on investment because your Bitcoin would then have the ability to appreciate. But of course, you can always take your returns in cash. You would miss out on that potential return on investment, higher appreciation though. But of course, I also want to provide our investors choice in your investment. And so you can always take it in Bitcoin or cash. And these return metrics don't account for even the federal tax benefit of depreciation, and if your state allows it to. So cash flow projections for the first year, we're projecting really strong cash flow for the first few months, for the first 10 months. This essentially means you'll be receiving your return of capital back in 10 months. Given our projections of 10 Bitcoin starting at 50,000 by when we start operations near the end of the year, to and growing 30% a year for 5 years, 35 to 30% a year. And so in the first year, in the first 10 months, you receive your money back. And then our profit sharing does kick in. So that's why you do see a lower return after that return of capital comes through. So you receive lots of money back in the first year, you receive then profit sharing going forward. In year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you see a slight dip as difficulty goes up. We do project that more miners will go online, and this means more competition. This only set number of Bitcoin that we mine, that doesn't change, just because 10% more miners come online, or 10% less miners come online. If 10% more miners come online, we make 10% less Bitcoin. This is how we look at Bitcoin mining and our investment into Bitcoin mining. One of the benefits of investing with Tozi Capital is our really high efficiency and low power costs and OpEx costs. This allows us to survive much lower Bitcoin prices and still be cash flow positive and provide investors a return on a monthly basis. If Bitcoin stays around $8,000, we would be around break even. What that means is we pay around $8,000 of fixed power costs and energy costs and OpEx costs. And anything above that allows us to mine positively Bitcoin and provide you, the investor, a percentage return. Now, of course, this is a much lower percentage than if it was 50,000, but it's still cash flow positive. And one of the things that I want to highlight here is this is an inarticulate model. If Bitcoin price goes down, what generally happens is inefficient miners, which is a significant portion of miners nowadays, older generation miners, which isn't us. We have the latest generation miners, which have better energy efficiency, power productivity, and lower energy costs. All these other miners will start going offline. What generally happens then is, while Bitcoin price could go down, we will mine more Bitcoin. So this is an inarticulate model, but also highlights the fact that we can survive a lot of bear markets and provide significant cash flow for our investors. So what are the investment terms? Well, all these investment terms and models are stating a 5-year investment. I predict our investment will be longer than that. And I'm being conservative here. With our emerging cooling technology and our miners being the latest generation model, typically what our forecast has been for other consultants and other people in the industry, they have told us 7+ years is more reasonable. So 5 years of mining, but if we are still profitable after 5 years, we will definitely continue to mine and provide you cash flow. Our exit strategy would be to then sell miners where it makes more sense to sell miners, our used miners, versus continue to mine them. So our return of capital is in 10 months to 15 months, monthly distributions in USD or BTC, and a 90-10 split during return of capital phase, allowing us to have a buffer for any unseen circumstances, and then a profit share after return of capital. And remember, this investment works because we have a 30% discount on investment. I've already paid the $8 million to buy these 1,000 miners. And then I'm also committing to investing a significant share of that, close to $3 million of my own money into this fund. And I want to talk about our infrastructure because that is a unique opportunity for this investment and unique compared to our previous funds as well. We do continue to work with Bitmain, and we are continuing to acquire the latest generation Bitmain miners, 1,000 of them. Our first fund had 400, our second fund had 450, and our third fund now has 1,000. These are the latest generation model. They're the strongest and most efficient one, and they were released recently a few months ago. I want to highlight immersion cooling as a technology. Bitcoin miners are essentially computers. They run hot. If they run too hot, they fry the PSUs and they go offline for days or hours. And every day or hour that you're not online is a day that you're not making Bitcoin and making money. Computers run hot and run better under colder temperatures. When mining in hot weather, the solution is to use fans, air cooling. So this is why if you ever have Bitcoin miners or computers that run very hot, you hear them, you hear very loud fan noise. In fact, if you try to have Bitcoin miners in your house with fans, it could go as high as 110 decibels. This is very loud. And if you've seen any video with Bitcoin miners, you see a very loud fan blowing. With immersion cooling, there's no fans. It's all cooled, in this case, in oil. And we can run the miners, overclock them, and create more productivity because we're no longer worried about overheating them and have all the benefits of overclock technology, which is to get more productivity from our miners without any of the drawbacks, which is to fry the miners and create more wear and tear. So immersion cooling has a lot of benefits, and that's why we are excited to partner with Elite Mining, who have been self-mining for its last 6 years and are hosting and created new technologies in the last 3 years of development. And in their final latest version of this, are actually creating up to 30 to 40% increased hash rate. This is the productivity of our Bitcoin miners. So, for example, they've highlighted our similar miner where they get 140 terahash versus 100, which is the stated production from the miners. So they're getting 40% more Bitcoin, and I'm projecting 25% more in this case. This is a very distinct technology and distinct model. I like the model of investing in strong new technology that most of the industry is adopting, and this does include a higher investment cost, but we're in this for the long run. Our investment cost of $400,000 in addition to the $8 million of mining allows us to invest in these immersion cooling pods. And Elite Mining, who has pioneered this and created a lot of productivity for themselves and for their clients, will allow us to have longer lifespan of the miners, higher efficiency, lower electricity costs, and potentially higher resale value because of less wear and tear. And we'll have higher uptime and better path to profitability. All great advantages of immersion cooling, and I believe that the industry is moving towards this trend. So what does the infrastructure look like? Elite Mining is creating these trailer pods. If you see in the bottom left picture, these trailers where they're very mobile units. And so inside the pods, you have these tanks of immersion cooling. And inside the tanks, you see on the bottom right, submerged in oil, our miners, or this is another set of miners. This is what it'll look like allows us to be very nimble in our movement. These are 1 megawatt facilities. We will have 4 in total, 2 delivered at the end of in November, 2 delivered in December as they ramp up production. They're building it now. Where will we be hosting them? In Pueblo, Colorado. We've partnered with AXP, Elite Mining, and natural gas flares. Natural gas flares is a new source of power for Bitcoin miners. And the reason why it's relatively new and also a trend is these are flares that are being created anyways. These are flares that are emitted because of the production of natural gas. And we then place our mobile units near the flares and capture the energy through a capture technology, and then have a very low cost of power. As long as we have internet connection, we can then mine Bitcoin. And this has all been provided for us with our partners, Elite Mining and AXP. So we're excited to launch our Fund 3 in Pueblo, Colorado with natural gas flares, which is a great new trend and allows us to capture energy that was going to be emitted into the environment anyways and wasted. And what I like about Bitcoin miners, and they get a bad rap for consuming a lot of energy. This is true. They use a lot of energy. It's got proof of work. But what I like is that a lot of us miners are looking for really great ways to leverage existing power sources that are producing power, like hydro or solar, that are excess power. And natural gas flares is excess power. It's being produced anyways. No one's consuming it. No one can consume it because no one can be on site there. And our mobile units allow us to leverage this very efficiently. So what's the project timeline? We have acquired the miners ready. We acquired it last month right before the market went up a little bit, and very excited for that timing. We will be installing and setting up in the end of the year. And after our first month of operations, we expect to provide our investors, your monthly distribution. And then you also provide the K1 distribution in the March of 2022. We will also likely have a dashboard where you can monitor on a daily basis your own productivity and how much Bitcoin you've mined, or at least the fund has mined, so you can track the progress of the miners. So this is a really great investment opportunity. I really enjoy talking about it. I've been in Bitcoin mining for a little bit of time. I've been in Bitcoin for a long time, and I really enjoy the fact that this is a strong cash flow investment. I want to highlight a little bit of some topical questions people do ask me. One is, do you recommend receiving your distributions in Bitcoin or dollars? I think that's really investor preference. One of the things I want to highlight is you always have a choice. But if it was me and I do invest in this thing, I would probably take it in Bitcoin. Now, you do expose yourself to volatility risk of Bitcoin, but I always like to think of this as a levered investment, a discount investment in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will go up in the future. That I bet a lot of money on that, and I am. So Tozi Mining Fund is really led by an experienced team, technical partners, with Elite Mining and Tozi Capital, having done 3 funds, and this is a 3rd fund. This would be a levered investment into Bitcoin at a discount, great cash flow, potentially 10% returns a month, high IRR, and great downside protection with depreciation, and all the great things of Bitcoin mining. So thank you for watching this presentation, and let us know if you have any questions. Looking forward to partnering with you on this investment and many more to come. Thank you.